So, ladies and gentlemen, time to start with our webinar. It's my great pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the World Wind Energy Association to this webinar about an important topic, wind power in Ukraine. And this webinar takes place in conjunction with and on the occasion of the Hamburg Wind Energy Trade Fair, which this year takes place, as all of you know, as a virtual online trade fair. It's a great pleasure to welcome you. Before, I'd like to ask my colleague Andrei Konechenko to say a few words and welcome you as well. I'd like to make some announcements. So this is a public event. Everybody has been invited to join, and we also have a live stream on YouTube, which will be broadcasted. So whatever you say will be available in principle. Everybody can read it, can have access to that. We will also, after the webinar, of course, not only record it on YouTube, we will also make all the individual presentations available after the webinar. So in case you would like to watch it again, you can do that. That usually takes 2-3 days until they upload it. Yeah, with this, let me say thank you to everyone who is supporting us to make it possible that we can have such an event. After all, of course, all our partners, also Hamburg Wind Energy Trade Fair in this case, and in particular, the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association. And I have the pleasure now to hand over to Dr. Andrei Konechenko, who is the president of the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association and also vice president of WWA. Andrei. Andrei, you're muted. If you unmute yourself. You're still muted?
Yes. Okay. Dear Stefan, we wait, it's Ruslana. Dear participants and speakers, I am pleased to welcome all of you at our today webinar organized jointly by World Wind Energy Association and the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association within Wind Energy Hamburg. This year, due to COVID-19, we have to meet online. Nevertheless, I really hope that our today presentation will be helpful and valuable for each of you. With our webinar, we'll focus on current and future of wind power market in Ukraine. Today, we share with you the key figures of wind power development in Ukraine in times of COVID-19 pandemic and legislative changes. I wish all of you interesting and dynamic discussion. Let's start.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrei. Indeed, a great pleasure to do this together. Actually, we were discussing more than half a year ago to have this event being held at a conference room in Hamburg. Now, somehow nice, we can still be together next to each other. And I'm very pleased that we have really great speakers from Ukraine, and Ukraine is certainly a very interesting market. Now, a special honor to welcome a very famous person from Ukraine, a person that many of you will know. Some of you probably got to know her from a different background, not wind energy, renewable energy, but from the Eurovision Song Contest. My great pleasure to welcome Ruslana here. Ruslana, who became first time famous when she won the Eurovision Song Contest for Ukraine. Later, she became even more famous when she was one of the leaders of the Maidan revolution. So she's also heavily involved in the political situation, improving the situation in Ukraine. And since a couple of years, also a strong promoter and a very, very close, great ally to work jointly for a renewable future. Ruslana, it's such a great pleasure to see you. Welcome, and I see you must be at home. How nice we can still have you with us. Ruslana, I would like to invite you and welcome you to greet our participants.
Stefan, I'm so happy to see you, Andrew, and all my friends here. Yes, of course, you can see the background of my house. This is my renewable house, 100 renewable. Of course, I have 12 of small wind turbines, so it's very unique for house. You know that we discuss a lot of about how we can use not just big generators, but the small one for our house. I have my production studio here, and I create all my music and all my production on 100 renewable. Stefan, first of all, many thanks for this meeting, for this conversation, for this unique moment, and I'm so happy to be together with my friend Andrew Konechenkov. We are from Ukraine. You can see my unique style, authentic style and ornament of my vyshyvanka. This is national Ukraine dress. And I believe that this is right thing, this is right dress because it's natural, you know, you can see that it's absolutely natural. So it's very good for my body and very good for my inspiration. The same thing with wind energy and clean energy, 100 renewable energy. I believe for that because it's wild energy, it's nature, it's from nature, it's from air, from water, from sun. It goes from our heart, and I believe that it's right energy. We never discuss about right or wrong energy. Yes, I know that we have right energy, means 100 renewable, wind energy, solar energy, other source, a clean energy source, but I believe only for this energy. And my idea promoted for people, social level. And we discussed before, and Ukraine, as you know, the first country produced, I mean, Andrew Konechenkov and Carl Student, we created the first music video, first video image in the world about wind energy, how it was. I would like to charge your heart right now because I have unique message. Charge your heart to charge the world. If you can see wind energy, you can bring it to the people. How it possible? How many people? How many people feel wind exactly the same level wind turbine produce it for us? I performed on wind generator. It was 120 meter on the over ground. It was live in the sky. I sang and danced in the sky, and I used a wind turbine as a top stage and create at the same time my melody, my groove, my rhythm, my move with wind. It's absolutely unique lifestyle, and I believe for future on clean energy. And my dream, my personal dream, to build together with you, with our community, uh, build a world on clean energy, 100 renewable. So we have absolutely unique day. We created together, Stefan, with you and Andrew and other people, our friends. And I would right now announce again and again and repeat it and promote it. I mean, Renew Day. Why it's impossible? Because we have an absolutely unique art platform to create a lot of right things together and promote it to the people. We can create any event by use only 100 renewable energy, wind energy, for example, and we can show to the people the whole process, how it goes from the sky with the technologies, new technologies. We have a lot of new technologies right now because it's upgrade every day, and how it goes to the music and our heart, how it makes us better and better and better. We have absolutely confused now. I mean, this situation about coronavirus. Everybody understand how it really wrong way, just destroyed our atmosphere, our air, our ground. So I believe that people will understand with our promotion, with Renew Day, with our art content created with the right people, with the right companies who believe that we can change the world, we can change the people, and people will choose more and more and more and vote for that and support it and interested in it more and more and more. The more music, the more videos, the more event like Renew Day, the more people will believe for the life on clean energy and choose this way. The less pollution, less problems, less conflicts. So 100 renewable and wind as a source of clean energy, one of the source of clean energy, bring us the better future. And I'm on this way. And of course, I have a new album, a new performance, and new video images, and new ideas, amazing ideas, Stefan, for us, and bring it to our Renew Day. It doesn't matter, it could be open air. Yes, of course, as I miss you. I miss Andrew because this quarantine, just I can go to you right now and just bring my heart and my kiss for you and for other people, but I really miss the audience because the artist without performance and without people, just we can live without that, without our performances. But I believe that if we focus how important climate protection, the program 100 renewable, we support the wind energy and wind energy technologies. So how important that we in this situation, I think we understand it more. I want to say a lot of good words about my country. And I ask you, Stefan, and other people, believe for Ukraine. Never leave us. We are on democracy way, believe me. We are on the innovation way. And we do everything together with the Andrew and the Ukraine Association, Wind Association. We lobby every day, every moment, lobby and push government and push mass media. And we are fighters, of course. We are fighters for 100 renewable, for clean energy. And we never leave this way. That is why Ukraine absolutely open as a country, open for any cooperation, any investors, any project. And people, Ukrainians, believe and are really interested about clean energy life more and more and more. This year, we presented together with the Andrew and the other community, our community in Ukraine, the same like you present us 100 renewable global platform, but in Ukraine, the Ukraine part. We presented and organized a great promotion. Yes, Andrew, in February, it could be last day in February, for mass media, for celebrities, for bloggers, for politics, for businessmen. A lot of great people are really open a new world. Yes, we bring this message from you because I thank you, Stefan, for you personally, that you explain me a lot of very important things to bring it to the people. And Ukraine, I think, a really interesting country, and we have potential, and we could be as a hub, and not just platform, but as a hub, producers of clean energy for future. Of course, I'm dreaming and I'm crazy about to develop exactly wind energy. I'm inspired by wind. I'm crazy about life and performance in the sky again and again. And I believe that we organize with the Andrew and with you a lot of amazing events and videos, and other content. People will like it, believe for that more and more and more. So my messages about Renew Day, we will organize it. Absolutely, I believe for that. I never stop it. We will organize Renew Day. Doesn't matter the format, but we will do that. Promote to the people wind energy and other clean energy source technologies, and bring the emotion, bring the inspiration, express and push. People don't sleep, wake up. If you want to make and build a really best life without any viruses and any problem we have right now, any challenge like we have, we need to change our life right now. Right now, we don't have any time anymore to wait for something. And I'm with you, Stefan, and of course, I'm so happy about the culture for future, clean energy culture, and art of energy. I believe that art of energy will bring us a lot of great changes. So I'm with you. That's my message.
Thank you so much, Ruslana. And you are really an inspiration. You are an icon not only of the democratic, but also of the energy revolution. I think this bringing this together, but this also makes so much sense. And indeed, it's a pity that we cannot meet now in person. But it's not that long ago. Actually, it was one of my last trips before we had to stop traveling in February. We met in February in Kiev. We've done a lot together indeed. And actually, our first kind of joint project was 2 years ago in Hamburg, when you came with the stage, which was amazing because you showed with that stage that was at the fairground, but it was not grid connected. You showed how you do such a concert just using the renewable energy which was there. And it was just solar and a battery system that was powering your music, and the energy that came from you was from you personally and from the sun, which I think was such a great symbol. And then the World Renew Day that we launched indeed then in 2019 for the first time, and this year we had it also as a virtual event because of the pandemic situation. A great thank you for whatever you're doing. You're inspiring all of us. That's so important indeed, that we don't only talk about technology and about the economic aspects, which is also important, but talk about the new culture that we need. So thank you so much, Ruslana. And you're a true ambassador for renewable energy and for Ukraine. That is certainly wonderful. Thank you for that. Now I have to hand over, but it's also a pleasure to hand over to our next speaker from the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association. And my pleasure here to announce Katarina Knish. I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. You're head of analytical department of the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association. And Katarina, it's a pleasure to have you with us here and to present us the status of the wind power market in Ukraine.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Thank you, Mr. Stefan, for your such a great introduction. Just a minute, I share with you my presentation. Is it available?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Yeah, first of all, I want to tell that it's a pleasure for me to represent the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association today during the World Wind Energy Association webinar. Thank you to the World Wind Energy Association representatives for the organization and to each participants for the interest in Ukrainian wind energy markets. It's really important for us. So, coronavirus, the most used word this year and the greatest manager of our lives. Normal life may have stalled in 2020. The human suffering and economic crisis have been and continue to be unprecedented. As we enter these challenging times, the climate emergency persists and the planet continues to be threatened. The wind energy sector is no exception. It has also been affected by the pandemic, unfortunately. 2019 has been closed with significant achievement in the development of wind energy in Ukraine. Our total installed capacity reached 1,000 megawatt. Comparing to the previous year, in 2020, our wind power market faced lots of challenges. First of all, some projects have been unable to meet constructional and delivering schedules due to logistical restrictions. As soon as lockdown was legally declared as a force majeure, businesses faced lots of notifications from contractors and subcontractors on force majeure existence and the inability to fulfill their obligations indefinitely. The imposition of lockdown and the shift of enterprises to remote caused the temporary closure of enterprises, shopping centers, airports, and other large consumers of electricity, which led to some changes in the structure of electricity consumption in Ukraine. In general, we cannot let the coronavirus crisis become a lost opportunity. We need a sustainable future more than ever. Despite all above-mentioned challenges, the wind power sector in Ukraine demonstrates its resilience. As of third half of 2020, the installed wind capacity in the mainland of Ukraine reached 1,251 megawatt. Unfortunately, approximately 225 megawatts still remains in the territories annexed by Russian Federation, of which 87 megawatt in Crimea Peninsula and 138 in annexed territories, occupied territories of Donetsk and Luhansk region. The dynamics of the development of installed capacity from 2013 to 2020 is quite wavy. As you can see, in 2016 and 2017, there was a significant drop in both installed capacity and electricity generation. We can also could explain it by the Russian aggression against Ukraine. While from 2090, you can see a gradual recovery and growth. By the end of 2020, we expect, as Ukrainian Wind Energy Association, the total installed wind capacity to be equal to 1,550 megawatt. Nowadays, there are 27 wind power plants operating in 8 regions of Ukraine. Around 400 wind turbines with an average unit capacity of 3.3 megawatt have been installed so far in the country. The Zaporizhzhia region continues to remain its position as the Ukraine's wind power leader. Additional 400 megawatt are under construction now, and 5,000 megawatt have successfully received construction permits. Compared to 2018 and in 2019, investment in wind power sector increased almost tenfold, up to nearly 2 billion euros. That is equal to more than a quarter of the total investment in the national renewable energy sector. The share of wind power in electricity production comes to 2.25%. Over the past 3 years, the most dynamic sectors of renewable energy in Ukraine remains wind and solar. This year, we have some legislative changes that for sure will influence the further market development. Marina will tell us in detail about it. In the summer of 2020, the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association conducted a survey devoted to employment issues among its members. Today, UVEA unites more than 75 companies, of which 50 companies were survived. 30% of these companies are engaged exclusively in wind power. According to our results, the total number of employees who directly or indirectly involved in the UVEA's companies is about 4,000 persons. The largest number of employees is involved in companies engaged in production of wind power equipment and green electricity, as well as construction of wind farms, I mean developers. According to the data, out of these 4,000, 1,000 are women, which is about 25%. Most women are employed in companies that provide investment, legal, or consulting services. The highest gender balance is traced in legal and investment companies. Despite all prospects of RES sector and a significant number of people who are already employed in this sector, 36% of survived companies feel lack of qualified staff. In other words, every third company working with renewable energy projects needs new, highly qualified specialists. In general, UVEA member companies need specialists in the field of IT technology, engineering, and law in the field of renewable energy. English, that's important. English is required for the employment of the above specialists. What will wind energy market in Ukraine look like tomorrow? As for today, the future of wind power market in Ukraine stipulates by transition of Ukraine to the renewable energy by 2050, which provide for 25 gigawatt of wind energy by 2030 and 60 gigawatt of wind energy by 2050. And about a little more about UVEA forecast by 2030, we predict that by 2030 in Ukraine, the total installed wind energy capacity will reach 7 gigawatt, which is 21.5 million kilowatt hours generated electricity and delivered by wind farms. And of course, we see the wind power in Ukraine as a main source for green hydrogen, but Alexander Repkin will talk more detailed about these prospects for our market. Every year, UVEA published an overview of the wind energy market, which is very useful in terms of analyzing the development of wind energy in Ukraine. I invite you to the UVEA official website to get acquainted with our activity and market, of course. So thank you for your attention. If you have some questions, I will be happy to answer.
Thanks so much, Katarina. That has been a very comprehensive overview, and I think that really reflects well the development of the market. And yeah, I think we can now already ask whether anyone has a question right away. That seems not the case, as nothing has been written in the chat. Again, if you want to ask questions, please use the chat first, and then we can also read it to our speakers. No, I think it was very comprehensive, and then I would suggest that we go to our next speaker. Again, thank you. And then I would invite our next speaker, Marina Rydzin, I'm sorry for my pronunciation, Rydzishna, who is a member of the board of the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association and counsel at the Sayenko Karenko law firm. And you'll talk about the political and legislative environment for wind development in Ukraine. So, Marina.
Hello, thank you for invitation. I will share my screen. Today, my presentation will concern the regulatory issues that we have in Ukraine in 2020. So the main topics of my presentation is the main challenges of this year, feed-in tariff restructuring, compensation for curtailments, and supporting schemes for the wind after 2020. First of all, this year we will remember due to several main challenges. The first challenge for renewables is the level of payments that we had in this year. On this slide, you can see that the level of payment was too low from March till July, and we still have the debts for this month. But later situation changed a little bit, and I will explain it in other slides. But still, the most important problems for the market in this year is the question of the payment of debts and the questions of full payment each month that we expect for renewable projects. The second challenge it's development of renewable projects in Ukraine. In 2014, our government approved a national plan. According to this plan, we expected that the production of wind energy will exceed the production of solar energy. And such balance was important for proper development of the energy system. But due to the high level of feed-in tariff for solar, we have significant development of the solar in Ukraine, and as a result, the production of solar energy prevail over wind energy, and as a result, we have problems with balancing capacities. And in this year, we had problems with compensations for curtailments of the renewable projects. And in this year, we tried to resolve these questions too. So in order to resolve question with the debts of the guaranteed buyer for feed-in tariff, we spent this year in the following issues. First of all, the questions about the payments to renewables under feed-in tariff was raised by the government in the November 2019. Then we had negotiations and mediation procedure with support of the Energy Community Secretariat. And in June 2020, our association, Ukraine Wind Energy Association, concluded the memorandum of understanding with the government. After memorandum, we also had adoption of the law on improvement of conditions of supporting electricity from renewables. And in August, we have the decrease of the feed-in tariffs for all renewables projects. Let's look on these documents in more details. Memorandum of understanding, this document was very important in order to solve the questions with debts and payments to the renewables. On the slide, you can see that the renewable producers agreed on the feed-in tariff reduction on the certain amounts and agreed on the increase of balance responsibilities. At the same time, according to the memorandum of understanding, the government shall to perform to ensure the full and timely payment to renewables. The memorandum included also the payment schedule of the existing debts of the guaranteed buyer and certain state guarantees. On the basis of this memorandum, the Parliament adopted the law on improvement of conditions for supporting of electricity from renewables. And one of the main questions of this law was the new feed-in tariff rates. Then the draft law included the conditions about the bonus for local content, and also it contains certain options for debt payments. These options are still subject to additional discussion, but we have certain results. For instance, we have the law about state guarantee to the transmission system operator that can help to solve the questions with the debts of the guaranteed buyer. So the previous slides was about the problems about the debts. Except the debts, we have certain progress with the compensation for curtailments. As I mentioned before, from November 2019, we have certain curtailments initiated by the transmission system operators, but our law did not contain the mechanism for compensation of the curtailments. And on November 2020, our regulator approved the amendments to the market rules of energy system, and on the basis of these rules, renewable producers can receive the compensations under the feed-in tariffs. According to the amendment to the electricity market rule, the transmission system operator is entitled to issue comment to renewables for decreasing production. It calls downward balancing services in other countries. And on the basis of the amendments to the law, the renewable producers are entitled for compensations for these curtailments under feed-in tariffs. Except the approval of the regulation, we also have the methodology for calculation of the electricity that is not generated by the producers, and the tolerance for renewable producers in case of performance of the comment of the transmission system operator. It's the main change about the current problems and the situation. Notwithstanding all these problems, we expect on the further development of wind energy. For this reason, the law about improvement of renewable sector contain also the rules about the obligation of the government to draft the law about separate balancing groups by the renewables. It means that in case of adoption of such a law, the renewables will be able to participate on the market separately from the guaranteed buyers and to receive the payment under the contract for difference. We expect to have this draft law in the nearest time. And we also wait for renewable auctions. And according to the last news, on the 3rd of December, the Ministry of Energy plans to introduce certain plans about auctions. It's very important steps because the future development of the wind energy depends from such stimulation schemes. In frame of the renewable auctions, we wait for quotas for auctions, and according to the last amendments to the law, we have caps for auctions price that will be in amount 9 euro cents per kilowatt until 2024. So it's the main changes in regulation of the wind energy. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Marina. I think that was also a very important presentation, also referring a bit to the challenges that you're facing. And actually, yes, it's not the only market where we see the switch to auctions, which is creating some imbalances and some challenges for the companies. Yeah, if you have any direct comments, please feel free to use the chat window here. Otherwise, again, Marina, you're available in the next couple of minutes. Oh, I see there's a question from Johannes Schiel. Hi, Marina. Andre, thank you very much for your presentation, your strong engagement, also for the wind industry. Very good. Things seem to move in the right direction again concerning the guaranteed buyer and financing the debt. What are the next steps? Marina, would you like to comment on this?
Yes, I was. As to the guaranteed buyer and the financing, as I mentioned in my presentation, we had in the draft was certain options for the payment of the debt, but this option was not realized still. However, in this month, in November, we have December now, in November, our parliament adopted the amendments to the budget of Ukraine, state budget of Ukraine, and according to this amendment, the transmission system operator, Ukrenergo, shall receive state guarantee in order to receive loans for payment their debts. This means that it's one of the options in order to help to the transmission system operator to pay debts to the guaranteed buyer and renewable producers. However, we also participate in discussion of other options, and the Ministry of Energy also involved in this process. They propose different approaches in order to solve the situation with debts of the guaranteed buyer, and we hope that on the next year we will have some solution for this question.
Yeah, thank you, Marina. Andre, would you like to add anything? Would you? If not, then just please shake your head because at the moment we can't hear you. Andre, would you like to add anything?
No.
No. Okay. Good. Thank you. Thank you for the question. Then again, Marina, thank you. And then I would like to go to our next speaker.
Thank you.
Then again, a different angle. Great pleasure to invite now, again, sorry for my pronunciation, Larmignon, who is a member of the board of the Ukrainian Wind Energy Association, representing a foreign investor in Ukraine, the company Gurish, which is from Turkey. Now, I have the pleasure to invite you, and please share your experience and your view on the wind power market in Ukraine with us.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm representing the company, the Turkish company Gurish.
I cannot hear you very well. I don't know whether I'm the only one here.
Is it better so?
It's not very loud, not very clear. As if something is covering your microphone. How about others?
I'm afraid I will maybe shout a bit more. That's it. So if I speak louder, is it working?
Now it's getting a bit better, yeah.
Okay. So basically, I'm representing the company Gurish, which is a construction and investment company from Turkey with 500 megawatts of wind and 500 megawatts of geothermal. So we have in Ukraine 30 megawatts of wind in the Odessa region. And so I understand the theme is, let's say, the latest development, especially from the payment side. Yeah. And well, as Marina explained already, it has been a bumpy year, and all started already so more than 1 year ago when the government decided to start discussing decreasing tariffs. At first, the discussion was constructive, and there was also an idea of prolonging the tariff in exchange of decreasing it, which was accepted by most investors. But then it turned out that with time going, and there was a mediation also by the European Energy Community, and all that kicked in. And in the meantime, the dysfunctions, the misfunctioning of the electricity market in Ukraine made that there was no money to pay us. But actually, it was more a systemic issue in the sense that Ukrenergo, which is like the transmission operator, was underfinanced, and I mean there was a chain reaction across the market that was not concerning only the renewables but also Energoatom, which is the bigger seller of electricity, which is the national nuclear power company. And so the problem obviously is most felt with the renewable energy, but it's not only the renewable energy, and it all comes from the reforms that has been enacted in July 2019. And still now we have a problem with different markets, whereby when we had not payments, for instance, payment crisis especially strong in the first semester, you saw from the graph that Marina was sharing that we had like sometimes 3% or 5% being paid. That means that it's not that the subsidy to the green energy wasn't paid. That means that even the value of the energy that we were producing and the market value of it wasn't paid. Yeah. So that was part of a tactic of discussion with the investors, and everybody was relieved when some agreement has been reached. And basically what happens now is that we are doing our part because we've been decreased, and the government is not doing its part. Marina just said that indeed the government, the parliament has just passed a law that would allow the government to give the state guarantee on a loan by Ukrenergo that would allow Ukrenergo to pay its debt to the guaranteed buyer, which means like the subsidy mechanism, yeah, and that the guaranteed buyer would pay to the wind power plant and solar power plant and so on. The problem is that this is for the budget 2020, and most likely they will not be able to manage to emit the loan and pay by the end of this year, which would mean that it requires a change in the budget for 2021. And again, so we expect some delays. We believe that, I mean, from the context we have, that by the end of first quarter, we should be okay with the first reimbursement. And also current payments should be matching 100% again, which is a good sign, but it's an easy sign to have, because in winter, you don't have much solar production. So obviously the burden on the budget of the renewables, it's much lower in winter. Yeah. So that's basically what we see as an investor is, I mean, the main problem is the absence of systemic view on the market. First, that was the case with the reform, and we still see now that basically there is, there are different segments of the market, and they have different rules. And that means that since payments, for instance, in some part of the market, in some segments of the market should be doing the same day, in other parts it's like 3 months later, you have always all kind of manipulations between traders, and you don't have proper regulation. So the main question for us is obviously that the regulator should finally want to tackle all the issues from a regulator point of view in the market, and that would mostly, so I mean, that would solve most of the problem. Obviously, it also needs proper financing of the transmission fee that is supposed to pay for the subsidies for the tariff. But again, that was very much of a pity that we didn't achieve an extension at that point of the tariff in order maybe for a bigger decrease. Yeah, or, I mean, there were other solutions, but now we're in a situation whereby it's extremely difficult to find lending because we don't have clarity about the next months. Hopefully, by the end of next quarter, I mean, of quarter 1, 2020, there will finally be clarity about how the market will be properly functioning on one hand, and the way that the debts will be paid down by basically by the Ukrainian government and the different regulatory organs, and also how to achieve balance of the current payments, because at this point we don't really have a view. The acting Minister of Energy has just been changed. We saw that the previous one had done lots of efforts in towards like reaching concrete steps and let's say compromise with the investors that could be, I mean, that wouldn't be only in words but also in facts. And we really are waiting that Ukraine would really understand the need for Ukraine of the wind, and actually also solar and other types of energy, because so on one hand, many people may be a bit afraid of the situation on the payment side now in Ukraine. On the other hand, one should very much understand that by the end of this decade, and already in 2026, most of the nuclear and coal power plants will have to close, yeah, because they don't, I mean, due to the impossibility of further life extensions or the huge cost of it. And obviously wind energy is much cheaper than that. And there is a distortion now in the price and in the image of the wind energy in Ukraine, which is considered to be very expensive, but it's artificially expensive due to the fact of the high country risk that is perceived. Yeah, and it's not, and now the government making it worse with these payment prices. And that means that lenders are much more cautious. It's much more difficult to find finance for it. And that means that the interest rates are higher. So if the government puts its act together, we could get lower interest rate and then have cheaper energy. And when we will go now to auctions, unfortunately, if those things are not changed, so having a longer duration, well, for auctions would be 20 years, that would be better. But especially having less perception of country risk for Ukraine, if this is not changed, the auctions will still deliver high prices. And we absolutely need a government that has a medium-run understanding that anyway, in 5 years' time, they will need wind energy because it will be the cheapest option, and especially compared to life extension of nuclear power plant and reconstruction, complete reconstruction of coal facilities, which are not matching any environmental standards as for emission. I'm not speaking even of CO2. I'm just speaking about let's say, the health of the people that are living around. So yeah, that was in short.
Thanks so much. These were very, very important points. And one, I mean, the investor's perspective, making clear that indeed, yeah, investment can also only take place if there is that reliability that you need. But I, of course, also appreciate your last words about the not so long-term future, where, of course, wind energy can hardly be beaten by any other source, not only in terms of environmental standards. So again, thank you so much. So far, I don't see any questions for you, but if there are any, we'll come back to you. And with this important perspective, I would go to our next, formerly final speaker, Alexandra Rybkin. A pleasure to have you here with us. You're from the Ukrainian Hydrogen Council president, and you're also advisor of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And let me mention that that was during my last, one of my last trips before the lockdown. We met in person at the Environment Ministry. So Alexander, now you will speak about prospects of hydrogen in Ukraine.
Okay, Stefan, thank you very much for invitation to have a floor on this great event. And unfortunately, everything now almost moved into a digital world. But I'm very missing our meetings when we have opportunity to shake our hands and to speak eye to eye, because I think for our generation, these changes are also dramatically because we used to have another way of cooperation. We are not a child of digital, but now let's use all possibility to contact even if the border is closed. So I'm really happy to be here, and I want to tell you a few words what is now going on in hydrogen world in general, maybe in Europe, a few words, and of course some information about what is going on in Ukraine. As you know, this year also historic for hydrogen in Europe as well, because on 8th of July, Franz Timmermans introduced European hydrogen strategy, and it was I think, a great and milestone document for European Green Deal. So hydrogen have a lots of opportunity, and one of the main opportunity is sectoral integration using renewables. So renewable technology and the hydrogen together, I think this is our future for I don't know even how many years. And hydrogen technology, I think, will be fourth industrial revolution and become a new energy carrier. And as Franz Timmermans said, become a currency for energy payment, something like this. So this strategy shows the direction and way in which European Commission will support all hydrogen technologies in transport, energy, and cooling and heating. Also, one of the main things is definition of hydrogen. And for me, as up to me, I'm very happy that hydrogen concerned to be done with the renewables, and first renewable who is mentioned, it's wind. This is why last week, I think you also know this information, was presentation of European offshore wind program, and Ukraine as well is a part of this offshore wind program. So after this event, Ukraine used to be a strong partner in this field because we have a very strong wind potential, and it's the second potential in Europe after Great Britain. And we did a calculation, and in the next milestone document, which is called 2x40 Green Electrolyzer Initiative, which was also mentioned in Franz Timmermans' report, Ukraine mentioned as a strong partner, and we have capacity for at least 10 gigawatt of renewable electrolyzer, which should be built up to 2030. It means that we at least need to build additional about 13 up to 15 gigawatt of renewables. And I want to admit that mainly we take to consideration a wind farm, which can be built on the southern part of Ukraine. And of course, now we are working on the program for offshore Ukraine wind, because now we have some legislative restriction about building on a sea or in a sea. And we need to change some law and some documents which will allow, and standards which will allow us to build offshore wind in Ukraine. And we did this research with Andrei Konechenkov, and of course I think up to the end of the year we will have a direct plan how we need to move to make it possible to build in Black Sea near the Ukraine sea coast. So we see how quickly countries of Europe as well as all over the world think about hydrogen technology and research their own national strategies for hydrogen. For example, this year we have hydrogen strategy in Portuguese, France, Germany, in Italy, and in Spain. And we see that next year China, then I think Ukraine as well, then Finland and the rest countries of European Union, I think, will have their own strategies, and we will have a strong political support for the new sphere and for the new production of hydrogen. And of course, European Investment Bank will be the main finance institution for this project. 2 weeks ago, there was a conference in Brussels for important project of common European interests, IPCEI, and it was held on the basement of Hydrogen for Climate Action, in which there was proclaimed 12 projects of common European interests for production hydrogen and to complete or to accomplish the whole hydrogen chain. It's from production and from renewable and up to final consumer. It can be chemical production, metal production, metallurgical production. It can be production of ammonium, and of course using hydrogen as the energy storage for seasonal save of energy and put it when we need it. So some figures. This 12 project common budget is about 65 billion euro. And of course, we are now working on two main for Ukraine project, which has named Blue Danube and White Dragon, which allows us to establish hydrogen production in Ukraine using the wind power, new facility which will be built, and exporting hydrogen to first country, Germany, and then Italy. Also, after this conference, we have a very strong interest from Bulgaria and Hungary, how they can use our existing pipeline, which we use for natural gas support, to transfer it for transport hydrogen, which can be also produced in southern part of Ukraine, which has a great potential for renewables. This potential was done under the study, and we have figures under the study which we done with 3 institutions. First, Institute of Renewable Energy, then our association, Ukraine Hydrogen Council, and Institute of Future, which did an economic analysis of the whole report. And we saw that general potential for renewable of southern part of Ukraine, it's about 100 gigawatt which can be built, and mainly, of course, wind. So this is small advertising of southern part of Ukraine for investors to think about it, how it can be implemented in their future plans. And you definitely will see it in our hydrogen strategy, which I think will be approved up to May or June next year. And of course, now hydrogen become not a future, but our nowadays, because we see the corona crisis stopped a lot of different production and manufacture. And now hydrogen will be used to update or to go out from crisis for economics of country, first European Union, and Ukraine should be a strong partner in this process, as we already signed, for example, with Germany, a new energy partnership, according to which hydrogen is on the table of the discussion. And I hope in a close future we will have German-Ukraine partnership in pilot projects for hydrogen, which will be supplied to Germany as a final consumer. And I think in this way we also need to go for maybe not to stop. I mean, not to go and not to stop, because in whole world, and as we see the tendency that someone thinks that renewables are too expensive and not really ecologically neutral. But we need to take into consideration that this technology is really our future and can be easily adopted for any region. We just need to think about three main points: existing of resources for water, possibility to build renewable, and of course transportation. So if you put it together, I think it's three main components for any hydrogen project which will be successful. And I think in close future, the demand for this project and development of this project will be very high. And I'm really think that in this way, we will closely cooperate with Wind Association or World Wind Association, with the Ukraine Wind Association, as we make the same plans and work under the same projects.
Thank you so much, Alexander. I think that was also a very interesting presentation of your views on the role that Ukraine can play, which of course is a very intriguing kind of idea of having in Central Europe energy imported from Ukraine. Do we have any direct questions to our speaker here? Let me just ask, because the previous speaker raised some points in terms of the investment, how to attract investment. What's your plan or your consideration? Probably you're not the one who's planning it, but your consideration, as we just heard about, that there are currently some challenges with investment and how investors would look at their investment. So what you're talking about is, of course, a kind of mid to long term also prospects. What's your suggestion on how to make sure that such investment, because I'm sure we talk about a very large amount of investment that needs to be done, how to make that sure?
Let me share with you my ideas and what we are discussing also with our Minister of Energy and with the Minister of Foreign Affairs. The main thing is that sometimes Ukraine policy cannot take into consideration all figures of the process. So look at our energy sector now and our renewable. We have no option. We have too much built project, and pressure for budget is also very high, because we need to somehow compensate a really high tariff, which is now, for example, for sun. And we see that sun power station now can easily be built for 2 months, 10 megawatt, and final cost of the investment are very low. And for this period, your return money back is up to 2 or 3 years, and it's also not a really market situation. So first thing, which when we speak about hydrogen, we definitely need to take into consideration that we need to move in parallel. First, to make our own internal market. And this is the main, I think, thing which was announced by the office of Timmermans, that you will get support only in one thing, only one way, if you will not think like Chinese. So to get only resources and nothing more. He said, it's really his words, that he said, we don't need resources from you, we need you to be a part of a process. It means that from 10 gigawatt of proclaimed electrolyzer, we need at least to build 25% of it for our internal market. And to do it, we definitely need to understand that in very close future, on the border of European Union, we will have a tax payment for not green production. I think the question is already solved. How high it will be? It will depend, I think, of a policy which will be set under European Commission. But that the question is already solved, I think it's 100%. So we need to take to consideration, are we want to be a third world country, to be in Europe, or we need to change dramatically our production and first our mind to become a prosperous country and to integrate to European Union. And if our first project, of course, will be very hard, I think, in to make sure investor that the situation will not repeat as it already exists. But one strong point is that first project can be fully oriented for export hydrogen. So you will not have any demand for Ukrainian tariff, and you will look like independent energy island. All production of renewable will be transferred to hydrogen production, and hydrogen will be exported to Europe. So in this case, Ukrainian government and this construction will be much more stronger and will have no any influence of the changing political situation. I think in this field we can find a really investor, because we will show and we will operate on three main points, as I told you earlier: possibility to build renewable, as we have a good potential, sources of water which we have from Black Sea, and of course using our transport and logistic routes which is already existing.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I think that indeed is the answer is somehow also closely related, as I understand you, with the European perspective that Ukraine has, which I think indeed is a strong answer. And now being based in Germany, of course, I can say that indeed this whole process is certainly very important, that European countries are closer and closer coming together. Yeah, I would like to say thank you then also to you, Alexandra, for sharing this part of the Ukrainian story, which we all hope and look forward to seeing as a flourishing country in the future. I mean, at the moment, we all have to overcome our challenges, but in these challenges, we also have new opportunities. We know this. And one opportunity is that we can just briefly meet in such occasions, although not in person, unfortunately. But the European perspective brings me back to our first speaker, Ruslana, which I would like to invite to say some, if you're still with us, but I see you here. I would like to ask to say a few kind of farewell words. But before that, again, let me just say from my side, thank you to I think, very good webinar, which is giving a very, very good idea of where Ukraine and the wind power market in Ukraine stands. Thanks so much to Andrei, Galina, I see here now as well from Ukrainian Wind Energy Association, to the whole team. It's also good to see that your team is growing. All our speakers, thank you to all our participants. And it was great to see that the number of participants is actually increasing during the course of our webinar. I think compared with the main event, it's actually quite good numbers we've had here as well. Thank you to all our partners, of course, to our supporters, to Project Ventus, who is supporting this series of webinars. We are able to offer these webinars for free. Let me say this as well, because of course, one hand, the support from our members. So everybody would like to join us to be part of our organization. Please feel cordially invited to join World Wind Energy Association. And we have a special set of sponsorship options, of course, for these webinars, which will certainly continue in the new year. Now, I would request Andre for a few short final words, and then hand over back if Ruslana can still hear me. Ask her for. Now she's disappeared. Okay, Andre.
Thank you very much for all participants. I'm happy because we have Israel more participants from different countries, and Ukraine, Israel have it's a good potential for renewable energy development, and we'd like to wait all investors in Ukraine, and we will together development renewable energy not only in Ukraine, in every world. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone, also those people who ask questions in writing here. Have a good day, and I'm sure that some of you will also join other parts of Hamburg Wind Energy. Let me mention that tomorrow we will continue our webinar series during Hamburg Wind Energy Fair. Tomorrow we have a very high-level panel of speakers which will present about the Pakistani wind energy market, including the ambassador of Pakistan to Germany will speak, and the market regulator, NEPRA, which is the governing body for the electricity market. The chairman of the body will also speak to us tomorrow. So now have a nice day, and I would be very happy also to see you again, maybe tomorrow. Goodbye.